I keep getting images of the felon's death and the felon's funeral, and some glimpses at what life will be like afterwards. So let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, watching them all the way to the end, hyping the videos. This all helps the videos get to more and more people. It does feel like there's been a little bit of suppression of my videos based on some metrics that I can see that you can't see, to where the videos aren't being sent out to as many people. So if you don't mind commenting, if you make your comment more than 7 words, they say that that's better. I don't know that it is, but that's what they say. So, and I think other people have noticed this too, not just me. So, anyhow, but ultimately things will be just fine. Ann and I have started a channel. I will leave the description there. We have a No Kings protest reading and protection ritual. So feel free to check that out. Um, okay, so the felon's death is still very much the same imagery. Nothing's really changed there. I see him like it's like after a long day, he comes in, he sits in a chair. It feels like he's in a hotel, or at least I don't know what the White House residence looks like. So, um, and I doubt it looks like any of the pictures we've seen because I'm sure they've changed it because he's crazy. So, but it slumps over, and then it ultimately feels like he falls in like a bathroom and hits his head, and that's kind of how he's found. But it'll be determined that it was a stroke. And then so we'll just throw some cards on that just to kind of see what we get. And then on the funeral side of things, there's just a ton. Well, I should say on the death side of things, when the death comes public, like there's just huge celebrations all over the world. I mean, just literally all over the world celebrations. So um we'll look at that as well. And on the funeral front, it does look like it's a state funeral. It feels like it's delayed. I'm still getting that. It could be because of the shutdown if it happens soon, but it feels like for some reason it's delayed. I don't know if they want to prounce him around the country, in some ornate carriage, like some absurd craziness. Wouldn't surprise me. Um, but the day of the funeral, there are large scale, I would call them protests. And the protests are against the fact that it's a state funeral and that so much government money is being spent on it. Like the elaboration of everything. It's a little bit about him, but it's also about that. And it's also to send a message to Vance, I think, to not do these things. And then I think we should just pull some cards for after because I really do think things get better. Maybe I'm an optimist, that's probably true, but um, the pendulum swings. I was talking with a good friend the other day, and we were talking about how things in the 80s were terrible for the GLBT community, and then they gotten a little better when Clinton was president, and then they got worse when Bush was president, then they got better when Obama was president, then they got worse, and then they got better under Biden, and we're like that's just how this country works. So things are going to swing back hard to the left is what it feels like to me. So let's start with just what do we need to know about his passing? Um, I'm going to use this is the Unveiled Tarot. I haven't used this in a while. It's a really cool deck. Um, by the way, if you have suggestions for decks, send me an email and suggest them. Let's see. We need to know about his passing. It still feels like it's relatively soon. Like, I can be wrong, but I always have seen it as being like a boom dead situation to where there's not a lot of warning. Like, it's not going to be one of these drawn out hospice care type situations. It's going to be over fast and nobody will see it coming. Most people will be quite surprised. Here's what that card is. So the cards that fell out were interesting. Victory, the Six of Wands. I think that's how his death will feel. For us, at least in this community, it'll feel like a victory. Um, I think some of us will feel like we can't really talk about it that way because it's somewhat disrespectful because we're just of a different generation with the Hermit card here. But um, yeah, I think all in all, that's the way it's going to feel. It's going to be a new beginning. It's going to change things. Probably for the better. That might be debatable in the short term after it happens, right? But in the long term, definitely for the better with the Ace of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles. He's gonna, they're gonna manipulate the military into being part of his funeral, I think. I think that's why there's also protests too. That's what I'm getting from the Five of Pentacles. Like there's a loss to it. Um, the Two of Swords, like they make bad choices that end up coming back to haunt Vance later. And the Devil card, I mean, people are just going to think that's what he is. So, there'll be lots of uh, less gracious chants, I shall say, of you starting with the word burn. um I can hear those, and I definitely hear like traitor, but we're not going to know the full truth about his death, I don't think either. I think that's why the Devil card's really here. At the center of it's the Queen of Cups, which is this contemplativeness. I think this is where MAGA folks start to wake up and they start to ask themselves, once like these policy ideas start coming out of Vance's mouth and other Republicans' mouth, I think they ask themselves, why? Why are we supporting this? It does feel like it's a great wake up. Uh, like, yeah, there's just better discernment with the Queen of Wands. It's like they're ready to move forward. Everybody's ready to put his tenure behind us. It's amazing. Even rank and file Republicans that are in Congress are ready to move forward. The Five of Cups loss, of course, uh, is going to be there, and we get the Two of Cups. You know, it's it's going to be celebrations inside of a dark time, right? Whether we're quietly celebrating at home or whether we're celebrating in groups, because I do think there'll be big groups, but um, the people celebrating will be condemned by the right, of course, for doing it. But at the same time, it kind of feels like it's necessary to send a message. So that's quite interesting. And then, yeah, it reminds me of the musical Annie, right? The sun will come out tomorrow. It's like that's how it's going to feel. It is going to be such a huge relief for a few hours, followed by anxiety until we figure out exactly what's going on with how the new government is going to work. So it's a new reality. People are really going to rethink some of the decisions they made, especially the people that supported him. And it's like we finished the uphill burden climb, we're on our way down, and the sun is out. Um, there's going to be a deep loss in the country for the people that were followers of his, but they're going to, also contemplate why. Once it starts coming out of other people's mouths, it doesn't sound as appealing. And, people are going to question their choices with the Two of Swords. Um, I do feel like they're going to manipulate the military into participating into this. I don't think they're going to tell us the truth about exactly how he passed in his health right away, but I do think it comes out. I do think people on an individual level start to be more discerning and more able to pick up on the lies and the manipulation and the propaganda. And I think, there are probably new friendships formed over this, but it's also, yeah, it's Schadenfreude, right? It's just celebrating the other person's demise because we have felt so victimized ourselves. The Eight of Swords, feeling trapped is that's what we're the current energy. We're tired of the deceit and the deception, and we're ready to move forward with force and vigor. With the Knight of Swords, what are we moving forward from? We're moving forward from the Fool, which in this deck is my card for the Felon because of the presidential type seal thing on the podium there. And what comes after that? New leadership, which will be, of course, Vance, because that's just how the Constitution works. So I think, lots of interesting stuff around his death for sure. Okay, what do we need to know about his funeral? And I think I'm going to use this deck again. What do we need to know about his funeral? It's like there's just large scale protests. Like I don't know if they plan to use the military somehow. I worry about that. Um, I don't think they know where to put his remains. I think there's great security concerns that people are going to continually for hundreds of years desecrate whatever site they put him at, and I think that's true. I have a feeling they're going to try to do Arlington, and I feel like that's going to be met with really wide scale protests from people inside the military as well. Yeah, we get lost, and then this like the marching of the. I mean, I know it's a marching band, but it reminds me a lot of military type marching formations. And we get the Queen of Cups again. People really wondering why are we spending so much money on this? Like most people, I mean, think about Jimmy Carter's funeral. It wasn't that elaborate. Neither was Bush Senior's, you know. I feel like they're gonna go overboard here. The King of Cups, the Democrats get involved. Like I think there's mismanagement of money. I think they say that private money is paying for it, but I don't think that's the case. We get the Five of Swords being wounded in battle. This really does a number on Vance politically. He loses a lot of political capital because of this. And the magician at the center of it, the lies and the conjuring of it all, um, and the grandiosity of it. And then we get the Four of Wands, the people, the voters. They're the ones that are mad over the funeral. And we get the Ace of Swords, the truth. The truth comes out about who paid for it, and it will be taxpayers. They'll say it was private funding, but nothing with them is ever the truth, right? It just isn't. Um, and again, the Two of Swords choices, and then we get the King of Wands. This will be a Democrat who speaks quite eloquently about the absurdity of this all, um, and rallies the voters to. So I don't usually read the future column this way, but it's. I mean, you can. So this is the past, this is the present, this is the future. The past influences the present into the future. That's the idea. But you'd also read the future, a Democrat influencing, I'm sorry, an eloquent speaker influencing the voters to support the Democrats in the future. It's very clear to me from that. But I think they try to get the military involved. I think the grandiosity of it all is a real opening for Democrats. It like goes completely, it's antithetical to the no kings idea, right? The way his funeral takes place. Um, the truth will come out that we paid for it as taxpayers, and the Democrats will pounce on that. And that's why the Democrats will do quite well in the next few election cycles. People are going to really wonder why they supported him, the choices that they made. They're going to feel quite wounded, for lack of a better way of saying it. That is the voters that voted for him because they didn't get anything out of it. They didn't get, I mean, they got nothing. In fact, they lost things. So it's quite dark. And after his funeral, the sun's out, and we're ready to kind of work together with the two cups there. So yeah, it feels pretty okay. I'm gonna switch decks here for no, I'm not. I'm gonna keep this deck. Just gonna what do we need to know for the time period after? What do we need to know for the time period after? I mean, democracy survives, right? It's tattered, but it survives and then it gets stronger. Uh, you know, we still have to make it through Vance, right? That's not going to be the greatest time period for sure. But the Democrats taking back the House in 26 really helps. And it's like we return to like this universal idea that there's only one truth. I mean, we currently live in this bifurcated society where half the people believe this, half the people believe that, and really there's just one truth. And I think we get back to that. I think the focus is on passing forward things that help people, the Knight of Wands, messages coming forward. Um, and it's going to the left, like the bike is pointing to the left, right? So it's it's messages moving things towards this more liberal point of view. And we get the star card of protection. We come out of this not unscathed, that's for sure. It'll be a horrible time period when we look back at this, but we come through it nonetheless. Uh, the Hermit card, you know, there's almost an ostracizing. I know the word, I just sometimes stutter. An ostracization. Anyhow, people that support him will be, singled out and ostracized. Like, it's just the way it's going to be. Like, it'll be very similar to how Germany was in the 50s. It's just kind of that energy. Like, it will not have been acceptable to have supported him. The deceit and the deception that we've been going through will become center stage, and we're going to have a reckoning. I've always seen that there's a reckoning for this administration after it's over and Democrats take over in 28 or 29 technically, but you know, a lot of them are going to jail. They just are. It's the way it's going to be, and not this faked up charges like they're trying to do now. This is all pretense so that when they get charged in 4 years, it looks bad. But it's a totally different ball game, and the people will know that. Um, the Six of Pentacles, the bribes, they'll get exposed. The giving and receiving of things, information or value, it'll all get exposed. And there'll be laws passed to make things more clear. Hopefully, to eventually take money out of politics. I do think the Supreme Court eventually changes um, hands. Uh, Not exactly sure how that works. I'll try to look into that a little bit more. choices will be more scrutinized by politicians. Will more likely to be look at what they have done, not what they're saying. This is kind of like what's going on in New York City right now. While Cuomo has done a lot, nobody like that's what people are looking at. They're not looking at what he's saying. And his opponent doesn't really have a huge history, so there's nothing to look at there, which is an advantage, which is, I think, how the Democrats win in 28 is by nominating somebody that's not very experienced. The voters will demand all this stuff. And, it won't be without conflict. There'll definitely be conflict at the Five of Wands. So we'll live in a society where truth matters again. Deception is not acceptable. And, we're not all going to agree. It's not like utopia or anything like that, but it's just better. Choices will matter, deception will matter, and we'll have protection against it. Things will swing hard to the left. They just will. The Trump supporters in MAGA, they'll be isolated. Corruption will be exposed, and the voters will demand that it be exposed. Now, this doesn't happen right after he dies. This happens after Democrats take over in 29. Um, people wonder why they ever supported him. We're going to find out things about money that they did with the Page of Pentacles, things they did with Israel and Ukraine. We're going to find out a whole bunch of stuff, the greed and the corruption. Republicans will be on the defense, but the country will be of a more moderate position of temperance, which of course happens after the death. So, all in all, things seem like they improve quite a bit. That's the way I've always felt it. I think things improve after he dies, but I think they really improve after 26 and then again after 28. So, all righty. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.